Well, hi everyone. My name is Joe Cobb. I'm joined with Richard Corliss today, and we're going to show you how to replace a sink. So, Richard, other than a new sink and a patient attitude,
Yes.
what do I need?
All right, Joe. Well, let's be honest. Changing out a sink isn't the most comfortable, right, thing
True.
you can do while you're doing some improvements to your house. But it is an instant gratification when you see this brand new sink in your kitchen. So before we do that,
Yeah.
you have to take a look underneath the sink and look for things that you're going to need, supplies and tools. Okay. Let's talk about that a little bit. So look at your water supply hoses.
Mhm.
What conditions are they in? Are they frayed? Do they look a little bit damaged? If so, let's go ahead and replace those for new ones, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times, sometimes people don't have the right length, right? Sometimes they can be, kinked up and kind of
Sure.
bent over. So now's a good time to change those out.
Excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely. And if it's going to be a new sink that might be a deeper sink,
yeah.
then in that case, you're going to probably need longer or shorter water supply lines.
Okay.
What else are we going to need to look at? We're going to need to look at your PVC, your current PVC that is there. It's probably been there for 10, 15 plus years.
Yeah, if you're switching out the sink, yeah, it's probably been there for a while. Yeah.
Sure. So let's go ahead and switch the PVC out as well. It's very budget friendly. And at the same time, you're just reducing risks or damages that you might get after you install your new sink. Because remember, that old PVC is going to have some crud.
Yeah, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah.
It's going to have some crud in there. So let's just make sure put everything brand new, right? It's going to look really nice. What else are we going to look for?
Okay.
Let's say if you have a garbage disposal.
Yep.
Right? If you have a garbage disposal, that's another thing you got to look at. You're going to probably have to adjust a little bit of plumbing and you're going to have to reconnect, let's say your dishwasher as well.
Sure.
Because most of the time dishwashers are connected to the drain. So we got to look out for that as well. Apart from that, let's look at tools.
Well, I want to address real quick. So when it comes to garbage disposals too,
Mhm.
that is a very intensive step, right?
Yeah.
So we won't cover that in today's workshop because we have a standalone workshop of how to replace a garbage disposal. So
It's
it's
great.
kind of it's a companion piece to this as well.
Mhm.
So we won't show that in this one because then we'd be here for hours and hours.
Yeah.
So we've got a separate workshop for that. So back to tools. What do you got?
Awesome. So tools, not very expensive tools,
Mhm.
not very specific special tools are going to be needed here. So what type of tools are we talking about? Pretty simple. You're going to need some PVC cutters, right?
Okay.
This is a really nice
Yeah, those
fancy
are
one.
nice. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a ratcheting one. You just place your PVC right here, go ahead and ratchet it, and it cuts it straight lines the whole time.
Or you can do it old school.
Old school,
Yeah,
back and
hacksaw.
forth. You
Yeah.
have a little bit of a hacksaw.
Burn those muscles out with that. Yeah.
Excellent. So what else are you going to need? You're going to need a screwdriver. Might be a Phillips, right? Or it might be a flathead that you're going to need. Just make sure it's a long version of a screwdriver. Remember, you're going to have to get it underneath the sink,
Mhm.
release those clips, okay? So if you can find a longer version, that's going to work better.
Okay.
All right. You also have needle nose pliers. This is a very versatile tool. They can get you in those really tight locations. I got stubby fingers. I think Joe
Yeah,
does too.
we do. Yeah,
Yeah,
most
so
of us. Yep.
those tiny spaces, stubby fingers, doesn't work right. So with these long nose pliers, you can get things done a lot quicker and more comfortable, right? And you're also going to need a hammer.
Now, not a hammer like that though.
No,
No, that's actually kind of.
Eh.
This is about my speed right here.
no, but get yourself a good hammer. You're going to ask why do I need a hammer, Richard?
You literally took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Why do I need a hammer? This is a sink install.
I know, right? So the hammer. The reason why it's a hammer is because remember, like we mentioned earlier, this PVC's probably been there for 10, 15 plus years. It's going to be a little stubborn to get out
It
sometimes.
could be. Yeah.
So some love taps hitting it there, it's going to loosen it up a lot quicker for you. And you're going to be able to remove those PVCs when you're doing the install.
Yeah. Now, do not use a hammer on any valves. Okay. If you're trying where your water cutoffs are, we'll show you that in just a few minutes. Don't use a hammer there. So if they are stuck, if they're very hard, use a little bit of maybe some vinegar and some baking soda. Kind of scrub that on there. It's a chemical process. It'll actually help loosen it up. And you could possibly use maybe some of those needle nose pliers to help turn it. You just don't want to hit anything because you could break a valve. Now, if they're completely jammed up and you can't turn them off, you can still use something forceful to close them. However, you're probably going to want to turn the water off for the entire house. But we'll talk more about those steps in just a few minutes.
Sure. So we talked about tools. Let's talk about supplies.
Yeah, so there's a lot of other things that you may need that you just don't think about. And first and foremost is you want a rag, you want an old towel, not your wife's nice towels.
Not
No,
not the nice ones for the guests.
no, yeah, not the guest towels.
No,
The
no.
ones that you use, right? Because there's always going to be water. There's going to be water that comes from the faucet supply lines. There's going to be water that comes from the sink. As Richard mentioned, there's going to be some cruddy stuff stuck
Yeah.
in those pipes. So keep that work area clean. Last thing you want is any flooding to occur in your vanity or in your cabinets because those will damage them over time. So keep that area clean with a towel or rug. Now, a lot of people want to use like a 5-gallon bucket, but that's not what you should really use here. You should actually use something that's a lot shorter, like maybe a Tupperware dish. Or you had a great idea about a milk carton. I think.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. So if you're doing recycling, you have a lot of plastics laying around. So you can go ahead and get a 1 gallon milk carton, maybe cut it right in half.
Yeah.
And you can just put that right underneath the tubing or the PVC plumbing that you're removing. That way you can capture all that water right there. It's nice and low and shallow. So
Yeah.
that's a quick little good way.
Yeah, so we're not talking gallons of water here, but there will be some water
Residual.
yeah, residual water. So you want to make sure you take care of that. A couple other things that you want. You're going to need some plumber's putty. We'll show you how to use that because you'll actually need that for the new sink flange. Which, by the way, you're probably going to need a new drain flange. You'll see us install this as well. When it comes to new sinks, some of them actually come with a new sink flange with it. So pay attention to what you're getting there because if you wind up buying things individually, it could add up. This is actually the sink we'll install today. This is the Glacier Bay. It is a stainless steel model. You can see that. It actually comes with a faucet and the new sink drain flange as well. So all three of those things typically individually could be a couple $100 more, right? So buy them all together as well. More PVC pipe, as Richard talked about, if you need that. And then you're going to need some silicone caulk. Why does it have to be silicone?
That's a good question, Joe. So a lot of people ask this. They're like, hey, is it normal caulking or is it another type? Is there something special about it? Yes. We're going to want to use 100% silicone caulking. Reason why is one, 100% silicone caulking is waterproof.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so
and
there
at
you go.
the same time, it's flexible, right? So remember, it's a kitchen sink. You're leaning on it. You got a garbage disposal connected to it. So it vibrates all the time. If you use normal caulking, what's going to happen is it's going to start to crack over time. Yeah. Because it doesn't flex.
Yeah.
Okay. So really important, 100% silicone, and it comes in different colors.
Sure.
You can get them in clear, white. I've even seen them sometimes even like in a beige
In
color.
beige, yeah, yeah. There's different colors that you can get, and the reason why we're focusing on this caulk is because of the type of sink we're going to show you how to install today.
Sure.
There are different types of sinks. The two most common are drop-in sinks and undermount sinks. Now we're going to show you a drop-in sink installation today, and there's two reasons we do that. Number one, that is the most common sink that you are going to find is a drop-in sink.
It is.
The second piece is undermount sinks typically are a little bit more intense when it comes to installing. Okay, there's the process very very similar, but drop-in sinks can go pretty much anywhere. And the reason why we say use this 100% silicone caulk when you're doing a drop-in sink is because of this. This is the actual countertop. Now this looks like granite, right?
Fooled me.
Yeah, but it's not. This is actually a laminate. So this is actually a piece that we cut out of the countertop where we're going to install the sink.
That's right.
Now, Richard, tell me why it's important if I'm doing a drop-in sink on something like this, why can't I do an undermount sink on this type of laminate?
Sure. So just like Joe said, undermount, right? So that means it's going to come from underneath. Now, that's all great and dandy, but remember, that means when it's underneath, you're going to have a live edge where the water is going to run down to into the sink. When you have laminate and you cut it, this is what you have on that live edge. When this gets wet, it expands and it damages. So obviously you can't have a undermount sink here because the water is going to damage it. So when you are planning for this and you want a undermount sink, go ahead, look at your countertop. If it's laminate, let's put into the budget getting into either a granite or a quartz top. Okay.
Yeah. So if you're so a quartz or a granite countertop. You can still do a drop-in sink there, but typically that's where you find your undermounts as well, because that granite or quartz, you can have that exposed edge,
Sure.
right? And you can just kind of, the water can roll over or splash into the sink. So we're going to do probably one of the more traditional, which is called a drop-in sink. And we'll tell you this, if you're pulling out an old sink and that countertop is damaged, now is a good time to actually change out that countertop. Now, if it's not in the budget to change it to a new granite or quartz, you can replace it with the laminate like this. Then it looks fantastic. And you can do a drop-in sink as well. It's a great way to spruce up that area. I mean,
It is.
it changes the look of your kitchen in its entirety. Specifically, the sink we're going to use today.
Oh,
It's
tell me about it. This is where the instant gratification comes in. Definitely. You'll see that later on.
Yeah, this sink is in pretty rough condition, and we're going to actually install this one here in just a few moments. So let's look and see how we're going to do this. Richard, take us over there and show us how we're going to take out this sink.
Let's get to it.
All right.
All right, so here we have the sink that Joe brought in. As you can see, this sink is in really bad condition. It's got broken parts, it's got staining all over the place. This is supposed to be shiny. It is not shiny anymore. As you can see, the drain flange is really crusted out. So we're gonna completely swap this out. We gotta take a couple of steps first. Join me on the bottom. We're gonna see what we need to do. Down here, you're gonna see you have a couple of parts that you're gonna need to remove. You have your water supply lines, cold and hot. You have your plumbing, P-trap, and drain, okay? So let's start, as you can see, this drain is coming from the floor. So you might have an instance where you have the drain on the floor, or you might have the drain coming from the back, okay? So if your kitchen island is up against, if your kitchen wall is up against a wall, it's gonna be coming from the back. If it's coming from an island, it might be coming from the bottom. Same thing is gonna happen with your water lines, okay? This is the time to remember, if you have a garbage disposal, you're gonna go ahead and remove the garbage disposal also by disconnecting it from the electrical outlet. Okay, so let's start with the first thing. We're gonna wanna turn off your water lines, hot and cold. Go ahead, turn. Remember, if it's horizontal, that means it's off, okay? Same thing with the cold. Now we're gonna remove the water supply lines. Remember to bring in a bucket. You might have some water spillage here. And same thing with the cold. Next step, you're gonna wanna disconnect your drain pipe from the coupling. Unthread here. This one also. Remove the P-trap. Now, you should be ready to take this off. Comes off like that. Comes out like that. You eliminate the P-trap. All right, so this is set. The next step is upstairs, up on top, we're gonna have some screws, some clips. Let's go ahead and remove those with this special screwdriver. As you can see, it has a beveled edge, and it's gonna make it great for it to be removing the clips. Let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so here's the screwdriver with the clip. Go ahead and put this here, unthreading it. Now that your clip is loose, go ahead, move it out of the way. All right, so now that we removed all the different pieces on the bottom part, now we got to get rid of the silicone caulking that's around the whole sink. Remember, this is what's really holding it onto the countertop. So you're probably going to find this type of silicone caulking underneath the sink. We're going to remove it. Let me show you how to do that right now. So you're going to go ahead and use a utility knife, something like this, and you're going to go ahead and want to run it along the edge of the sink, like so. Okay, you're going to do that all around the edge of the sink. After you finish with your utility knife, you're going to go ahead and use your multi-tool to prop up the sink just a little bit more, okay? So let me give you an example of this. You're going to go ahead, put this underneath. Prop, 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 prop. Okay, all around the edge. And now you should be ready to lift up the sink with you. Go ahead, you're gonna hold it here. You can grab it through the faucet right here and lift it and take it away.
Instant gratification. I tell you what, that sink is horrible, isn't it? Well, that is not a pretty sink. Now, Richard, you had a couple other tools when you did that. Point them out. Make sure these are probably nice to have tools.
Yeah, they are a must or really nice to have, like Joe says. Here you have a screwdriver, and that has a specific type of tip. It's like a beveled tip. And inside of that beveled tip, you have a Phillips head.
Yeah.
As you saw in the video, this makes it super simple to reach up into the sink, grab a hold of that clip, and be able to unthread it super easily. If I would have done it with a normal screwdriver, I could have gotten it done.
Yeah.
It probably would have slipped out a couple of times, but with this, it's a lot easier for sure.
There may have been some language involved if you was using a regular screwdriver, which is what we tell you all the time. You got to have a lot of patience when you do these things, right? Patience and practice and plan, and that will keep you from panicking. There's one other tool that I love. You just wear this sometimes. We're not even doing a workshop. He just loves this thing.
Why not? It's a fashion statement. So illuminate your way.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go. Okay. So definitely, you're going to be working under a sink. There's not a lot of natural lighting down there. So remember, use a headlight like this. Put it on. Look, simple.
Yes. Told you.
Here we go.
There you go.
Boom.
So, with that aspect, let's go ahead and install a sink.
All right, so we've gone ahead and propped up our sink on top of some sawhorses. We've installed the faucet first to make it easier for you to then install this into your countertop. But before we do that, let's go ahead and start with installing the drain flange.
So with the new drain flange that you have here, you're going to go ahead and remove this gasket. Like so. You're going to take your plumber's putty, about less than a golf ball size, like that. And you're going to go ahead and roll it out. So the point here is to make this as long as the drain flange so that it does a circle around it. Once it's done, I'm going to bring it around. Oh, just a little bit more. There we go. Now you have that there. We're going to go ahead and install the drain flange into the sink. You're going to bring it over, put it in place. We're going to firmly press downwards. Now, we're going to go underneath and we're going to install this. So locate here. You're going to want to install. Get it started. And then after that, take your drain. Okay. Now that we're all nice and prepped, we're going to need to make sure that this is all nicely clean. Once it's all nice and clean, now you can go ahead, you take your 100% silicone bead. You're going to go ahead and put down a bead throughout the whole edge of the sink. And don't forget the top part as well. And then we're good there. Okay. Now, before we install the sink, we want to show you the clips that are used. These are the clips for the railings. We're going to go ahead and give you an example of how this goes on the railing. Goes on top like that. Tightens down. And it stays into place. Okay. Go ahead and remove it. Pops out like that. All right. So now that we have that, we're going to go ahead and replace our sink. Make sure it falls right into place. Okay. Press down firmly. And now we're going to go underneath and we're going to connect all the lines. We're going to grab your supply lines and connect them to the correct lines.
Now, remember, when you're tightening these, you're going to have to want to use an adjustable wrench and really torque this down correctly, okay? So you get no leaks. Now, you're going to want to connect your P-trap. Slide this in, like so. Make sure the drain is aligned. Bring it up. Okay. Go ahead and take the clip. And we're going to tighten it up. Perfect.
Well, we covered a lot today in just a short amount of time, and we basically gave you the information that you need to kind of replace the sink. There's a lot of things that we covered. Richard, what were some of the things?
Sure. So first of all, collecting the right tools and supplies for the job at hand, right? That was number one. Making sure to turn off all the water that needs to be turned off for this type of installation, and disconnecting all the plumbing that you need to do for this type of installation and take out that old sink.
Yeah, it's okay.
that-
Nice old sink. Yeah. Just remember, folks, when you're turning off the water, you should just have to turn the water supplies off underneath the sink or the vanity.
Sure.
If you have any problems with those turnoffs, though, you may need to turn off the water to the entire home to do this project, because we don't want any floods in there as well.
Sure.
We talked about installing the new faucet and the lines prior to installing the sink. You will save yourself a lot of time, energy, headache, especially if you're laying on your back in there trying to install the faucet after you've installed the sink. So make sure you go ahead and install it. And again, remember, if you get a different type sink, you want to make sure you have the right faucet to put with that sink. If you've got questions about how to install a faucet, we have a workshop for that as well. We reconnected the plumbing and the water lines. Used some, the actual water lines actually came with a faucet with this install that we did today. So it made it look really nice, very clean, a really professional look. Rich, you did really good on that. I appreciate it. Just remember too, you got to get rid of that old sink. Or maybe just bring it in and do a workshop with it. I don't know. There's something you can do for that. We talked about some additional consideration. Basically, if you have a garbage disposal, again, we have a separate workshop for that. Our friends Antonio and Ron do a wonderful job with that, showing you how easy that can be as well. Now, this might not be everybody's project, right?
No, definitely not. Just like Joe says, replacing a sink is not everyone's DIY project. The difficulty for this project varies depending on what the sink and the faucet.
Yep.
If there's a garbage disposal,
Could be.
or just any other sink devices that are present during the install, right? Should you decide that you prefer a professional to install this, we got you covered, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can actually have those professional install services come to your house and do it, and they'll take away that old sink as well. These workshops are basically to give you that information. Are you empowered to do it? And
Sure.
maybe you are. Great, fantastic. Maybe you realize it could be a little bit too much for you, or you just don't have the time. Remember, professionals, not only do they do this all the time, but they do it quicker than typically you and I can. That's why we pay them sometimes. But it is something you can do if you have the time to do it. Just don't rush through it. So, speaking of rushing through everything, if you didn't get everything we talked about today, don't worry. Download those resource guides, okay? Make sure you have those.
Also, if you have any questions about this workshop or any question in general on DIY projects, be sure to email us at workshopslive@homedepot.com.
Thanks for joining us, folks. We really appreciate you. We hope to see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.